Only two words can describe what we have just seen. Emotional trauma. Jesus Christ, boys and girls. I don't even know how to describe this one. After the race, I actually went out for a walk. Where, where do we start? This is very somber note to start on, considering this was a brilliant race, and you're going to see this across the rest of the review. But didn't it hit a nerve? You know, Grosjean out on the opening laps. We were all just absolutely traumatised, weren't we? 2 races in a row. Yeah, that was the big one from me. Probably the most upsetting thing of the race, to be honest with you. There's your podium. Nothing upsetting about that. Jokes aside, obviously we know the big reason why we're all so upset. Lewis Hamilton, though, taking the victory. And Mercedes won too on a weekend where Ferrari looks so strong, and they should have won. Leclerc, well, we'll talk about him a little bit later on, but Jesus, that was like a dagger through the heart for every single Formula 1 fan, even for the most die-hard Mercedes fans. I think everyone felt for Charles Leclerc today. This is your full race result. It was the 2 Mercedes from Charles Leclerc, your podium finishes. Leclerc's first podium in F1, which I think actually calmed him down a little bit, made him somewhat happy from the result, and the fastest lap as well. It's not every point lost, but it's still 9 points. That's a big chunk in the championship. Verstappen 4th. Had a bit of a scrap throughout the race in that midfield fight. We'll talk about him a little bit later on as well. We will talk about Sebastian Vettel. Almost every driver's got some sort of story about them in this race. Lando Norris picking up points. His first time in Formula 1 in P6. A solid job from the Briton in only his second race. Kimi Raikkonen 7th for Alfa Romeo. Gasly in 8th. Albon gets his first points of the season in 9th. And the final point scorer was Sergio Perez. The race start, pretty chaotic, to be totally honest with you. Leclerc didn't get the best getaway. Vettel took an early lead. Leclerc tried to fight it, but wasn't quite able. Then Bottas overtook Hamilton, and it seemed actually that everyone that was on the right-hand side of the grid, what is usually known as the clean side, so that's Leclerc, Hamilton and Vettel, all are pretty poor getaways. Vettel took the lead. Then, Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen, sorry. Vettel took the lead from second, then Bottas overtook Hamilton, and Sainz, for a point, overtook Max Verstappen, and Sainz somehow got into 5th place. That ended up slipping back a little bit, but that opening lap was just chaos. It was brilliant to see so many overtakes. That midfield was changing every corner. There were people off. Track limits were just forgotten about through the S section, the beginning of Sector 2. It was chaos. It was utter chaos, which is exactly what we love to see, isn't it? What we don't love to see is our favourite drivers being taken out on lap 1, and it was a racing incident. I can be fair about that. Romain Grosjean and Lance Stroll getting a bit of a kerfuffle between the two of them, and we know Bahrain, the first couple of corners are so tight. We saw plenty of contact throughout there last year and this year as well. We saw lots of little incidents throughout the race. We saw Hülkenberg, Ricciardo make contact there. We also saw the likes of Kimi Raikkonen and Norris getting very close to contact. Hamilton and Leclerc as well also made some contact through that section. But Stroll, Grosjean, both of them almost practically ruined both their races, didn't it? Very early on. Grosjean had to come in. Stroll had to come in as well. And then we just saw chaos erupt as Vettel led from Bottas, then Hamilton tried to make a move on Leclerc, then Verstappen tried to make a move on both of them. Leclerc, we're all thinking, oh my god, what has happened here? He just had no grip whatsoever, but then found his grip and somehow once again got into the lead. He overtook Bottas, he then caught up Vettel. And there are a few questions whether, would Ferrari just use team orders, keep Leclerc behind? But they just couldn't. Even if they wanted to, I don't think Leclerc would have stayed behind. He was just so much quicker than Vettel this weekend. He just darted off into the distance, took an early lead. And you would have thought things would have calmed down behind, but far from it. Max Verstappen, struggling in the early stages, led to Carlos Sainz fighting Verstappen for 5th. That McLaren all weekend looks so good. Best of the rest car, I think, especially in the race, considering Haas Magnussen, a terrible race from Kevin Magnussen, probably even worse than Grosjean, and Grosjean didn't even do 2 laps. He just went backwards and backwards and backwards. Yeah, terrible for Magnussen, but qualified well. But that's probably me, just my bias to not liking Magnussen. They'll want to bounce back next time, Will Haas. But Sainz and Verstappen went to battle, and it was almost a little bit of former rivalry, a bit of history between those two, which is really great to see. Some of these younger drivers now, they've started to have their own storylines, a bit of history in their careers, so we're getting rivalries starting to emerge. Sainz a little bit, well, he got the move done. He got the move done, but then got a little bit, I suppose, aggressive on defence. We've not seen any onboard footage yet, so I will wait for that to do my full judgment, but it looked like Sainz did close the door a little bit. It was a racing incident, so no penalties, which I think the stewards did a really good job this weekend of not dishing out stupid penalties for the sake of penalties. They gave a Grosjean a 3-place grid penalty, which was fair enough, but apart from that, they were very, very good. Sainz shut the door, and what could have been a brilliant result for him, his first points of the season, ultimately ended up in a DNF, and that was generally down to the damage caused by Verstappen. His tyre just decided to say goodbye. Carlos Sainz exploded almost on the point. His front wing damaged as well. He was a lap down, had to get back to the pits, and spent most of the race at the back of the field with the likes of the 2 Williams and Lance Stroll, who had made contact with Grosjean in the early stages of the race. We saw Kvyat and Giovinazzi getting a bit of a battle halfway through the race. Kvyat sent spinning, but the midfield, I mean, I try and be clear and concise in these reviews, but this is just not going to be able to happen with this race. It was constantly changing, and not only did we have the fact that the guys outside the top 10 were starting on fresh tyres, that dynamic to work with, we saw guys like Hülkenberg and Ricciardo from awful qualifying positions work their way up through into the top 10, comfortably into the top 10, and Ricciardo from 17th ran most of the race in 7th and even 6th. In some stages, it really was crazy. The Williams, we even saw them on the TV this weekend. Those two, Kubica and Russell, scrapping it out, which was really good to see Kubica make the step up from last race. So that was really good to see. Williams actually are here on the grid this year. But then we saw probably what I'm going to call our first big incident. It was great to see a 2-stop strategy, which I think races where it's a 2-stop are generally the best, because some teams may go for a 1-stop, some teams may go for a 3-stop, so I think it gives you a nice variety of strategies, does 2-stop races. But what happened after the first round of pit stops is Leclerc, he was in a league of his own. Hamilton was able to jump Vettel. It was all caused by Verstappen coming in too early. That just caused a cascade of people coming into the pits. Untimely stops, to be honest with you. Hamilton and Vettel went to battle. Did not quite go the way of Sebastian Vettel. And the final result was Vettel doing, what could only be described as a 2018 Vettel, wasn't it? Doing another spin, another 360. There wasn't even contact involved. Hamilton was going around the outside. Vettel then just decided, you know what, I could try and change my ways, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do a bit of a spin. And that's exactly what he did. Destroyed his rear tyres, which then exploded his front wing in his efforts to get back to the pits. A beautiful shot for all Vettel haters, throwing that out there. But just it was a crazy explosion, which, like I say, it was stunning to see. He worked his way back to the pits, and what should have been a Ferrari 1-2 went up in flames. Leclerc, he was on for that win. It was now Hamilton in second, Bottas in third. It was gonna finish like that, wasn't it? It was gonna finish like that. Well, then it happened, didn't it? The utter heartbreak, the utter traumatic experience. And I'm supposed to be going on holiday next week, but I think I'm going to be suffering with PTSD for a little while, because this was, for any Formula 1 fan, this was horrific. Leclerc, who had done so well all weekend, and you're going to hear this from everyone, so it's going to all be the same, but he was doing so well, so well, did not deserve to be anywhere apart from winning this race. The car decided, not today. utter trauma. Everyone was crying, social media, even Fernando Alonso. There was tears in his eyes. The camera panned to Fernando Alonso, who was with the McLaren team this weekend on the pit wall, and it just panned to him, and you could see in his eyes the tears. Oh my, it was crazy. We believe at the moment, it was the ERS system had just a complete failure, and for the last 10 laps, we knew he was going to be overtaken. We just knew it. And we saw Hamilton close him down, just breeze past, not even on the main straight. Not even on the main straight. Oh, it's painful. Then Valtteri Bottas got him. We knew Verstappen was going to get him, but the safety car came out, a saving grace, if you will, because the two Renaults decided to bottle it. Both Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, with just a couple of laps to go, were running 6th and 7th, a brilliant result for Renault, up in flames. Well, I mean, it wasn't quite up in flames, literally. Again, we're not really too sure why they both just came to a halt, but they did. They both just stopped at the exact same time, almost in the exact same place. Safety car came out, last 2 laps, saved Leclerc. And you can see on screen my driver of the day. It's no big surprise. There was actually a lot of candidates for driver of the day. And yes, Crofty, I'm first time watching Sky this year, and they're a little bit biased, the Sky team. I'm learning this very slowly, but they said, everyone's going to vote Leclerc. And at the time I thought, well, that's just a sympathy vote. And probably that is thrown in there a little bit, but when I was going through the rest of the field, this guy still is the standout driver for driver of the day. And I think what consolidated it for me that he was driver of the day was his reaction after the race. Just thanking the team. He even said sorry to the team on the team radio at the end of the race, which, no, Charles, you did not have to say sorry. They should be saying sorry to you. Albon getting in the points, he did another brilliant race, outclassing Danny Kvyat. And Lando Norris, I don't care if people are annoyed that I've put Lando Norris. People, for some reason, think I'm biased to Lando Norris, but honestly, another brilliant race. Just similar to Hamilton, just staying quiet for most of the race, just getting the job done. And a 6th place for McLaren's is brilliant, but Leclerc, the standout, should have won the race, handled himself so well all weekend, deserves driver of the day. Now, before we go, we've got to do one more thing. Race rating. Last year, my highest rating was a 9. Bahrain gets a 9. I gave it a 10. I've got to come clean. Initially, when I was doing this, I gave it a 10. I then had to calm myself down, stand back a little bit and say, Dan, last year you made this same mistake. You went too high, too early on, and that screwed you for the rest of the year. This was a brilliant race. And can I just say, videos will be coming out in the week, just taking apart this race more and more and analysing it more and more, because you guys don't want to be here forever. But the aeros this year, the front wing changes did so well at this race, especially early on. We saw so many fights, which we haven't seen for years in Formula 1, twists and turns everywhere. It has to be a 10 if Grosjean's on the podium. No, it was just missing that final little element. Maybe some sort of big smash and a safety car midway through the race could have spiced it up a little bit. But honestly, a fantastic race in Bahrain. Yeah, I'm still stunned, and I'm going to be re-watching the race tonight on Channel 4 because I loved it so much, and I just want to take all of it in as much as I can. It was brilliant, and I'd love for you, if you didn't enjoy the race, to tell me I'm an idiot in the comments. But that is it. That's where I will leave it for today. As I mentioned, next week it's going to be a little bit of a strange week on this channel. I'm on holiday, but tonight I'm going to try and record some, or pre-record some videos to put out in the week, talking about the race. Of course, it was yeah, amazing. I can't say that enough. But what I'm trying to actually explain is that comments I probably will be a little bit slow on replying to over the week. I just want to chill for a week, so hopefully you guys don't mind. But that was my race review for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Let me know in the comments below, who is your driver of the day? What is your race rating? Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.